And we are live. So there was a beep. The sound is loud and clear. Wahab, how's your sound?
Check.
Okay,
One, two,
great.
three.
Seems to be loud and clear to me as well. All right, great. So yeah, how has it been? How has the course of action been going, or the course of life on your side?
Oh, hopefully better than this terrible internet connection I'm having. So hopefully we don't have to cut out halfway through like last recording.
Exactly. Yeah, that was quite a trip, and this experience actually when our connection was cut out and then everything failed is something or has something to do with what we are going to talk about today. So basically, at some point in life, you can start just floating, or maybe not in life, during the day, you can start floating, and you might as well feel good about that. But is it really so?
Depends. You can have a floating like feeling because you're euphoric, you're happy. But most of the times it's associated with cruising on autopilot. Like you're just moving to go to exist without purpose.
Oh, yeah,
And life without purpose is not a good life.
that's a great point. So, even if we consider, let's say, not the life, right, but even if we consider a day, which is ultimately gonna be a part of your life, and then if you float way too many days in a row without a purpose, then it seems to be like not a very good idea, right? So, and then what we drive at is how to set and achieve goals. That's what we are going to share with everybody today.
With setting goals, and especially if you come from the background of just floating, just existing for the sake of existing,
Yeah.
or doing a job for the sake of just having a job, um, studying or picking a major just for the sake of picking something. When it comes when it comes down to picking a goal, sometimes it can feel scary. You're not sure.
Yes.
Maybe you overanalyze the risks. You overanalyze the outcomes. Well, what if this happens? What if I want to start my business and it fails? You fall under the trap of paralysis by analysis. And that's not what you want to think of when doing a goal. Just as the wise master known as Yoda once said, do or do not, there is no try.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, but before we try, I would also wanted to kind of shed some light on why it's easy to float without the goals. I think it has something to do with the brain, with how people are set up, right? So if you don't have too much strain on your organism, on your brain, then that's what the brain and the organism would like to have, right? It's just like, let's say, energetically, from the energy point of view, is more beneficial, right? And then if you don't set any goals, if you don't expend any energy on setting and then inevitably achieving them, or ideally working towards them to some extent, right? So that's what we need to do after we set the goals. Then in this case, your organism kind of uses the minimal or a smaller amount of energy that it would use otherwise, as in setting and achieving goals, right? So, in this
Yeah,
case, it's important to understand that we need to work a little bit against whatever it might be, the thermodynamics or the, let's say, energy expenditure argument in here. So, we will have to input the energy and then we will get ourselves a little bit outside the natural comfort zone, which is kind of dictated by the universe, where things want to be as stable as possible in the uh, most favorable energy state as possible, with the kind of like least amount of energy applied to exist. If that makes sense.
A lot of
Do you know what you're
people,
saying?
oh yeah, hmm um, a lot of people are perfectly fine just living life in power saving mode. They
Good
don't want
point.
to exert energy or try a little bit extra, whether it's, breaking a sweat, um, trying to really, really sit down and think, where you end up spinning your head in circles. Sort of like a brain flex, kind of how a math problem makes you think, reanalyze your
Yeah.
route differently than an exercise where you just have to physically push through. A lot of
Yeah.
people shy away from just a hint of any form of effort that needs to be exerted. Immediately shuts them down, scares them away, makes them think, well, oh no, it's risky. What if my business fails? What if I get injured? Oh no, I'm too old for that now.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, well, how can I get there? What can I set down, such as milestones, so that I can complete and crush this goal, no matter what it is?
Exactly. Yeah, I can hear you sometimes. Even if I set some sort of small goal, right? For instance, I want to assemble the whiteboard, which we will eventually start using at our podcast episodes to demonstrate something. Then I can almost feel this physical resistance from my body saying, ah, no, just kind of like take some extra time to sleep or have just a chill time and avoid assembling this board because I will need to clearly expend the energy on opening up the package, then putting the pieces together to build it. So I will go into the higher energy mode, and then that might not necessarily be desired by the organism from the kind of nature's setup point of view.
It's definitely easier. And modern life has now been trying to sell you the easy way out since the day you were born.
Oh, yeah,
Since the day you encountered your first challenge or obstacle, there's been someone trying to sell you the easier way. Just trying to, like, add, I guess, the proper word might not be difficulties, because in a way, some people are way less fortunate, and to them, that just could be everyday life. But let's say the average Joe,
yes,
to them, they would have to go out of their way. Like, you just go to work, go home, and then eat processed foods, sit in a couch, watch TV. That person would have to go out of their way to add hardship, to introduce discipline into their life. And then that would seem like an intrusion to your everyday, regularly programmed setting.
exactly.
So now, when it comes to setting these goals, like you said yourself, oh, you want to set up a whiteboard, but then you feel this thing in the back of your head telling you, no, no, relax, take it easy. Don't do it today. Do it tomorrow. Why do it today? It's nice today. Tomorrow is better.
Yeah,
And then that voice loops in and again and again and again. And the next thing you know, 10 years pass by. Like, time is one of the strangest things in the world. It can feel, 10 years can feel like yesterday, and the day can feel like it took 10 years to pass by. So it just depends, making the most out of your time.
yeah,
And mhm,
that's true. So yeah, we're kind of getting to more points here in this unpackaging process. But the first one that we established is that yeah, so we have to apply some energy and struggle once we set and work towards the achievement of our goals. And then another thing that we can think about is yeah, so it's important to achieve the goals, uh, just not to waste the time, for example. That's going to be kind of like a very nice point, I think, when we consider why it's important to care about setting and achieving the goals. Because, yeah, we can easily fritter away lots of time. So, if you think about this on a day scale, well, you don't do something for a day, right? And when you're supposed to do something, so I know that there is a vacation time and everything like that, so that's all legitimate. But if you consider kind of the day when you're supposed to work and then you don't work towards your goals, then this day is gone. And now you apply this method, so to speak, of laziness to many other days, and then you can accrue 10 years or something of those days.
Definitely, and it's also very important, like building off of what you said, that it's the speech you tell yourself that ends up becoming the building blocks of what you believe and what you initially think you can do for yourself. For example, someone who keeps saying, well, I can't do it because of this and that. Oh no. Well, I have this and that and I just can't do it. Instead of genuinely just increasing discipline, powering through it for the sake of doing it, then you can. But then if excuses build off of excuses and saying it's because of this and that, it's because of
Yes.
this person, that person, then you will stay exactly where you are in life. Whereas instead you think, okay, despite all of that, what can I do right now? And the thing with setting goals, it's not something that has to be a huge, like, billion-dollar company goal. A great way to start is to set small goals that you can use daily.
Yeah,
And something that I think is really good is doing something every day that's good for your body, good for your mind, and good for your soul.
that's right.
It can be
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
true. So yeah, if we think about this temporal scale, not the temporal, but the temporal feature of goal setting and achievement, then we can probably split it into various time periods, right? So the timeline of goal achievement, and this splitting will include, I would say, daily goals, weekly goals, monthly ones, and yearly goals. So that's as long as or as far in the future as I would like to think, because other than that, outside 1 year, it looks like things might go way out of our control too easily. So let's think about the daily goals, right? So if we are in the business of setting the goals, what can we do? So we established that we basically need to be motivated, right? So we can use this kind of, yeah, a little bit of negative motivation, right? Oh yeah, time is passing, let's do something. So yeah, that's one way to think about the goal achievement. I'm sure that there are the entire books written about that, and then there is lots of science behind the goals achievement, but we need to kind of think about what worked for us and then try to kind of, yeah, summarize it, right? So yeah, we have this a little bit of the negative motivation. So then what else? So we don't want to float, right? So, but not to float, we need to get into the higher energy state to achieve those goals.
Exit
So
autopilot.
yeah, that's right. So we need to get out of this autopilot mode and then not be the like flotsam, let's say, whatever it's called in life, but we actually need to start swimming or maybe build a boat or build a ship, and then this is what will uh, be like to kind of sail in the vast ocean of life, I would say. So you get to the boat, and then you are not like a piece of wood or algae of sorts just floating all over the place. So then we need to expend the energy, we need to have the motivation, and now we are going to finally set the goals, right? And I want to start with the daily goals, okay? So what works? So what are the practical kind of like things that we can think about when we set daily goals? So you mentioned the habits, right? Kind of that eventually will be developed.
Yeah. Um, so pick like something that is good for your body, something that makes you sweat. For your
Yes.
mind, you can, you know, read books. You can, like, this may sound completely random, but solving math problems is
Okay.
apparently like just as good for the brain as physical exercises. And then for your soul, whether that be meditation, prayer, pick something that works with you and simply stick with it.
Yeah,
And make sure every single day you do those three things.
I
And
agree.
then once you keep doing that, today might not feel like much, but compounded is when it builds off.
Yeah,
And you carry that on weekly, you then notice how you can change a few things. You start to adjust, you change certain schedules, and then you figure out what works with you. But the most important thing is to do it.
definitely.
Like,
Yeah, so I
mhm.
would say that in my case, on a daily basis, I can perform some sort of routine, or we actually 15 minutes, so we need to pick up the pace. So,
Oh yeah.
so I would say, yeah. So, what I can do every day, absolutely right, is for example, brush my teeth. So that might as well be a goal, right? Which can, or hopefully at this point, it did become a habit, right? I can brush my teeth twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. Then I can also, something maybe more advanced that I do, it's writing in my diary, right? So I put down some thoughts about the day also on a daily basis. Then I read the book on a daily basis. And yeah, so also do some very light stretching, actually, which I discovered helps a lot with the recovery and overall energizing, depending on the time of day, time of a day when you do it. If you do stretching in the evening, then you'll recover better. If you do stretching in the morning, then you will be more energized for the day. So yeah, those are kind of like examples of the mini goals that you can set every day, and as you say, do them literally every day. Maybe like without, maybe not every day, 7 days a week, but perhaps like 5 or 6 days a week. Completely possible.
You definitely want to make it the majority of the days in your week.
Yes.
And then do reward yourself, give yourself a break, a breather. Or if you're feeling it, go full throttle, try it out. Where just about you're gonna feel the breaking point, play right under there. Don't
Yeah.
go over, don't injure yourself. Try to get a read of your body. And one thing that can help you better the results is to create an environment that can help you achieve these goals.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if you want to cut back on junk food, having, chips, cookies, ice cream, very easy to access, will be detrimental to your goals.
That's very
Excuse me.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah. So as they say, out of sight, out of mind, right? So if we have some sort of
exactly.
things that distract us from our goals, let's say in our room or whatever it might be, right? Then we need to try to eliminate them, or actually do eliminate them. There is no try, there is do, right? As the Master Yoda used to say, or says these days. And also, yeah, if we think about the physical environment, right? So the physical environment optimization is very conducive to the goals achievement. So, for instance, I, let's say, arranged my bed, for example. Now there is no mess on the bed, it's like nicely made, right? So then it's now easier for me to achieve the goals of the day, whatever I need to do. And also, another thing I was thinking about is to write down those goals on a piece of paper, for example, or whiteboard, or whatever you might have. So, because apparently it's easy for us to, for our brain to have a grasp of those goals when they are in front of us on some sort of medium.
And it's definitely way easier to achieve when long term goals have milestones. So, kind of like in a video game, when you reach a checkpoint, you
Yes.
want to set checkpoints for your goals as well. So that when you reach a certain point, like an accomplishment, you beat level one. Now you're
Yes.
good at level one, but you have to progress to level two.
Exactly.
But you get a reward for beating level 1. But the reward for beating level 1 is not the same as beating the last level, the end of the goal.
Yes.
So be honest with the way you reward yourself, and also pay attention and track milestones. Sometimes, if a goal can seem too big and crazy to look like a dream, but the difference between a dream and a goal is writing down steps to achieve it. So if you're thinking, I want to be a millionaire, but you don't have that much money, you work a 9 to 5, and you're unable to, let's say, become a millionaire through that basic income. So you now set goals and think, okay, I need other sources. You can open businesses, you can start trading stocks. But what you do is you, let's say, first goal, create a budget. You now
Oh
have a
yeah.
budget, set aside a certain amount, cut back in the spending, checkpoint. Fast forward 5 years later, you have certain amount set aside, comfortable with to invest, start investing. Fast forward 5 years later, you've been reading, doing homework, keeping track of the market of the world, and you're now able to analyze, make properly educated decisions rather than just throwing and praying and hoping it works.
Exactly. Yeah, I
So,
think this is a very good example. So, what was this so about? Just finish your thought.
oh, I was just gonna say, so the best way is create the checkpoints and perform a self-audit.
Oh
Analyze your
yeah.
progress. Maybe a specific path to beat level 1 is really hard based on your current build or stats.
Yes.
So you have to take a different route. Maybe you have to
Okay.
change your stats. This is really gamer terminology, but it's applying very well with that.
Yeah, that's right. So we are easily getting kind of into the rabbit hole in here, right? So if we think about this seemingly simple topic, oh yeah, set and achieve goals, but yeah, there are so many ramifications, right? So when we think about this topic, but yeah, so yours is a great example, and I think what you have been doing here is you are kind of deconstructing this goal of, let's say, I just don't want to cross the monitor. So you're trying to deconstruct this goal of, okay, well, we have the grand goal of becoming a millionaire, which might take some time, right? So maybe like several years easily, right? So I would say, or well, sometimes it could be, yeah, maybe a month or so, but still there is a significant time investment into that. And then you are kind of trying to uh, deconstruct or devolve that goal into the smaller pieces, which actually are becoming like building blocks to achieve this bigger goal. And then it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Okay, well, we have those daily goals that we achieve, write down maybe on some sort of medium, and then also we can think about from daily goals, we can think about the weekly goals, right? So, yeah, once it comes to weekly goals, those ones are a little bit larger, right? So, but you need to be able to think about a little bit larger scale of the goal achievement, right? So, what can I do in a week, but not, let's say, during a day? So, and in this case, I think it's important to make the connection between the daily goals and the weekly goals, right? Because a weekly goal, in my opinion, is something that can be achieved throughout your actions and the goals that you set and achieve during the week, right? So let's say you achieve something every day during the 7 days of a week, and then this compounds into a weekly goal.
Yeah, even for example, if you want to write a book,
Yeah.
you know, you can break it down to 10 pages a day, and your goal for the week would be 70 pages. Now, 70 pages maybe might be a lot for a really busy schedule in one day, but 10
Yes.
pages maybe might be like an hour of thinking and writing, but you're able to squeeze it into a busy lifestyle, um, and find time to sit down to just crush your goal, complete it for the day. But if you miss one day, then that end result won't be your what you aimed, which will be like less than 70 pages, 60 pages, 50, 40. And it would be like the building blocks of a large tower. They don't start off, trying to build the tip of the skyscraper. They work really hard on the foundation, probably harder than the rest of the building. Now, I know nothing about construction, but I guess from what I hear is that the foundation is the most important part. So once you
Yes.
have a solid foundation, then you're able to build up on it, brick by brick. You know, um, then you work on the steel, the glass, the design. Once you have one thing in place, you're able to expand upon it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. So, and then as we think about the bigger and bigger goals, right? So conceivably they will be taking more time, right? So if we transition from the daily to weekly goals, right? So then we think about the scale increase from 1 day to 7 days, right? So, but looks like, yeah, the principles stay the same as we move from 1 day to 1 week, or from 1 week to 1 month, and from 1 month to 1 year, right? It is just the same thing, building blocks, but there's going to be more and more of them, right? And the tools to achieving those goals, I think they do not largely change, right? So we just need to still have to apply the effort, right? Because we go against our naturally, let's say, lazy state that is dictated by nature, right? So we need to apply the effort. So then we need to be disciplined, all those good things that we know about, right? We need to stay consistent. What else can we do? We need to have patience, right? So I think maybe patience will kick in when you think about yearly goals, right? Because they're a little bit harder to grasp than, let's say, a daily goal. So then you'll be like, okay, when will I achieve it, right? So you can become a little bit antsy when you think about some sort of longer time scale goals. So patience will be there. Then what else? The notebooks will still stay. I would say that for the weekly goals, it's going to be a good idea to have some sort of larger sheet of paper, maybe a whiteboard actually, which I'm going to assemble finally. And you can put down your weekly goals or monthly, yearly goals even on that board, right? So the tools will stay the same, as I kind of think from our conversation. So and yeah, so that's just how it's gonna go, right? So and then in this regard, I think it's very important to just stay focused on the smaller bricks that allow you to achieve your goals of different time scales. So the daily brick will be really of huge importance, because if one brick is missing, right, during the achievement of a weekly goal, then you'll have some more bricks missing from the monthly goal, and so on.
Just to, I guess, summarize, focus on the brick that you have right in front of you and lay it down as best and as well as you can, and carrying the same standard for the following will ensure that whether you want to build a hut or a tower or 20 huts, is that with that standard, being honest to yourself and pushing through the excuses will help you crush your goals.
Yeah,
Just as Master Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. And many times I've unfortunately heard friends saying, well, I've tried to do this. And it's like, you didn't do it. Give it all you have, literally 101%.
Yeah,
There's no shortcut around it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things in life where you can't hire someone or rely on something else. You have to get up and do it yourself.
yeah,
And the worst thing I think that can happen to anyone is at the end of their life when they look back and start thinking, well, I could have and should have, rather
yes,
than I'm happy I've done this.
yeah, yeah.
So
That
keep
is
the end in
true.
mind. And
Yeah,
by end, I mean literal end in mind. Sometimes we forget we're human, especially in this autopilot cruise. And unfortunately, many people on this autopilot cruise, by the time they reach the end, where they're old and brittle, they realize all the things they missed out on. So pull yourself out of autopilot, be in the now, look around you, set goals, pick the checkpoints, and then next thing you know, you will have done something. And hopefully, we've helped you been able to achieve something great through this.
yeah. These are great words. So, yeah, you can indeed think a little bit about the negative motivation, even if, yeah, there are lots of negative events happening in the world these days. But I think it's maybe always going to be like that, or maybe it will kind of like go down in negativity a little bit. But overall, history shows that there is going to be some sort of oscillation going on in the world events overall. So, yeah, we just need to deal with this. And yeah, so the end is kind of inevitable, right? And then we never know when it's gonna come in. So you might as well, yeah, think about the negative motivation
Mm-hmm.
for the goals, right? So, or I would also build off of this, and then I would think about some sort of positive motivation, right? Such as, for example, okay, what will my, let's say, parents think about me, right? So if I am very lazy and then not achieving, right? Or maybe they will be happier than when I'm like industrious and achieving, right? Or you can think about maybe some sort of immortality projects, right? As some people say, yeah, that's a good looking sword right there. So yeah, with which you can achieve lots of goals, I'm sure. So you can think about, maybe this sounds like a cliche, but you can think about your legacy establishment, right? So what will I do to make myself great? Let's put it in those kind of like plain and simple words, right? Or what kind of impact can I make on the society around me or humanity in general? Things like that. So those might as well be some sort of, yeah, cliche sounding items, but they might as well motivate you to do something, right? So, and then it's gonna be not necessarily something like very high in the sky, floating, right, that you cannot quite grasp it, but you can achieve it. For example, maybe you can, I don't know, wash the house, right, in which your family lives, and then everybody will feel better. So you will definitely provide some positive impact to the like society, even if it is kind of, let's say, your family, relatives, or friends, housemates, whatever it might be around you. But you will still make this impact. So that's how I can think about some goals if I don't want to have any apocalyptic thoughts during the day, right? So, but yeah, you might as well have them. So that also does happen. So, and another thing I was also thinking about lately is that oftentimes, especially if we think about the daily goals, which seem to be very important and fundamental in making the basis of this house, right? So, the house of the big goal, let's say. So, it oftentimes takes much less time to do something than to think about it. So, you can think about that,
Mm-hmm.
make excuses, procrastinate, and so on, but you realize that all of a sudden it just takes, I don't know, half an hour to assemble the whiteboard, right? And then I've been thinking about this maybe for already like a day or two or something since it was delivered. So That's another thing to think about. Or maybe like doing your dishes. It takes like a second to wash the, I don't know, a jar, right, or some sort of glass. Um, then just kind of like let it sit on the sink for days. So think about this situation. I think that's what I just wanted to throw in out there to share my experience, and hopefully this will indeed make the goals achievement better and more kind of cock strong eventually.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, great. So yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up. So yeah, we have been on a good time scale. Oh, there is a timer on the camera actually now. I realized it's 35 minutes. All right, awesome.
Just 5 minutes over.
Yeah, that's great, but 10 minutes under so from the like previous episode, so that's a good progression. So yeah, any closing remarks? So do we have any sponsors or inspirers to mention?
Hmm.
I would say it's
Hopefully,
like a self-discipline,
someone,
perhaps. Yeah,
someone sponsor us, please.
yeah, that would be also
So
conducive.
you can fly me over and we can finally do the podcast in person.
Yeah, that would be great. So, yeah, we should say that we wanted to provide a shout out to the good microphones made by Rode and a good camera that we have now to record this glorious episode. It's a Sony camera. Very
Yes,
nice.
this is free advertisement.
Yeah, but they achieved their goals. So that's, yeah, now we have the shout out for free to those great companies. So, anyway, and then, yeah, this episode was also sponsored by mental toughness, I would say, to a large extent, and patience. So,
Get tough.
exactly, big things will come in your way. Alright, well, under these circumstances, we're going to bid a farewell until next time.
This is Life Hackers signing out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, we can also say that you guys should follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our channel. Finally, I did not forget it.